Welcome, Dr. James Beckett, Sports Card Insights. Thanks, sponsors, Topps Panini Upper Deck, Heritage Auctions, Huggins & Scott Auctions, Mike Stadium Sports Cards, Burbank Sports Cards, ComC.com, and Beckett Media, Beckett Grading, Beckett Authentication. This was a hobby dinner, and several of the sponsors were in attendance. And I have another one coming up. But this one, the first topic was Pique, and I'll let that speak for itself. I went around the table, so if you don't recognize a voice, here's the order of how we went. From me, sitting in the middle, on my right was Dave Poole, who trains all the graders at BGS. JJ Arredondo, next, Director of Operations at BGS. Leon Lucky, Net 54. Then Matt Galvin, younger collector who loves vintage. Dane Conan, Dynasty Breaks. I've been on the podcast before. Skeppy from out of town and the frequent commenter for Sports Cards Live with Jeremy Lee. But Jeremy wasn't there. Jeremy was invited, but maybe next time. David Porter from Fanatics and Topps, a good friend. Chris Ivey as well, Heritage Auctions, head of the sports division there that's doing great. Keith Hauer over at Topps Fanatics. Ron Palmer has been on the podcast before, local dealer I really enjoy buying from. And then Bill Flea, Superior Sports, who's been on before and has a lot of opinions and a lot of irons in the fire. And it's always interesting to hear what he's got cooking. Those are the people that were here. We had a 2+ hour. So this is the first portion of it, and there'll be more to come. Thanks, everybody. And thanks to guests at the dinner as well, for sure. There's 3 choices: past, present, and future. Pique, or Pique. Past. What has piqued your curiosity this past year in the hobby you'd like to throw out there? P-E-A-K. Has the hobby peaked, or at least the prices? So you can't address all 3 of these. And then third, future Pique, P-E-E-K. What do you think is going to be happening in 2026 that isn't happening right now? Address one of those, because this is an exciting time we're in. Let me start and we'll go around this way. My concern about the P-E-A-K is not if we peaked in terms of pricing of items. That's not a concern of mine as much as if we peaked in the number of people coming into this hobby. Because some of the items that have set new world record prices, the next time they sell, they're going to go lower, and the sky will not be falling unless we've got half as many collectors. Rank and file collectors keep developing the whales, and we need a bunch of those too. So I think we could be at the peak of price for exceptional items. And I still think you're going to do great, because people are still going to want to sell. So much stuff has come out. Okay, so that's my P-E. Okay, David, Pique or Pique?
So what's the first Pique?
Pique is curiosity. Your curiosity has been piqued this last year as Beckett has made a little bit of a comeback. Maybe that's your curiosity, or you could explain it.
Yeah, in this past year, for us as a company, a lot of challenges in the last 5 years that were not even supposed to be challenges. It just became a challenge.
External factor.
Yeah, we just continued to deliver the great product we always have. And we just kept our nose down. A lot of people said, hey, where's Beckett? They're not saying anything. Where are they? We chose the path of let's grind harder. Let's do everything we can to continue to stay on the path. Something that I tell everybody that trains for grading, I learned early on in my career from you personally, Dr. Beckett, was that the honesty, integrity part of it needed to be at the forefront. So we just kept that at the forefront and just kept doing what we do. This past year, to see where we are now and see that we've gained a lot of that trust back, and people see that we are working hard. And like, you can go online all day and you can go down the rabbit trail and look at all the people that are commenting, and I'll go down the rabbit trail. But if you say things like Beckett sucks, I'm not going to stop down and listen to it anymore, because you're not giving any content. But to see all the people that would go, not they're the most accurate and consistent, that more often than not, especially in the last year. And so for us, that's good news on the Beckett side of things. But also, I think the more companies that have that mindset, any grading company or any company out there, if your mindset is honesty, integrity at the forefront of it, I think this hobby continues to just thrive.
I hope so too, then. Thanks for doing your part. Okay. JJ.
I'm going to piggyback off of it. Is not only that we're trying to keep those standards in place, it's how do we do that and how do we grow with the hobby? Because during those 5 years Dave talked about, yeah, we kept our head down and we stayed focused. But at the end of the day, we got to look up a little bit and we got to look to the future, and we got to expand a little bit more within the community, because the amount of people coming into the hobby is getting to that peak to where we're seeing more and more volume come through to where we're at shows and we're selling out capacity by Friday at a show. So for us, we got to make sure that we're continuing to grow to make sure that we can continue to increase that capacity, not only at shows, but in the office as well, to continue to deliver a solid product to the market. To Dave's point, consistent, keep that integrity where it needs to be, but also deliver a good product to the customer, the consumer, at a high retail sell rate. Because that's what customers want. They want a good product, a cheap price, and a fast turnaround time, and a good resale value on the market. We want to continue doing that as we continue for 2026.
And you're optimistic for 2026?
100%.
So.
There's some things on the horizon that's coming from Beckett, so I'll leave it at that. But we were looking to have a good 2026.
Great.
Good. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
Good.
A great. That's awesome. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, JJ.
Yes, sir.
So what has piqued my interest?
Piqued your curiosity, or do you think prices have peaked, or what's around the corner? Peaking around the corner.
I might be unique here because I only look at pre-war baseball pretty much. I don't really care about the other stuff too much. Sorry. You could show me 10 of those shiny cards. I'm like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah, we love the old stuff too, man.
As far as like Net 54 baseball, we're doing the same kind of things. We're still getting a lot of new registrants, a lot of new advertisers too. What I found at the National this year was people were talking about content and how much content you have. Net 54 is 24 years old and it's all organic content. I just talked about how much data we have and stuff, and some people were, wow. So I guess I'm just going to continue the path in that respect. There's a lot of new stuff put out on the forum and pre-war related. I get up happy every day. I think prices in the pre-war space for the best stuff is going to continue going up. And the middle stuff and the lower stuff will stay about where it is. Some of it will slack off a little, but pick the best graded, or not the best graded, sorry for the graders, but the best looking card. Grades are important, but I personally get the best looking cards I can. But I get up excited every day about what I do. So it's awesome. Couldn't be happier.
Thanks, man. Yeah. Matt, what are you looking forward, backward, or?
Yeah, I'm going to do a little bit of both, but most of it's going to go backwards. I think as I look forward in the hobby, one thing I was thinking about, I'm going to pivot a little bit in topic, but one thing that really just got me thinking is, as I go to shows, as I watch content online or go on Net54 or other places, the question that is continuing to ring in my mind is, do people still care about the player's story and the history of the hobby? There's a lot of new faces in the hobby. I'm one of them. I'm one of the COVID entrants, if you will. And the question is, do they care about the hobby? As I look back from this last year, I've been super encouraged by going to a show and just getting to hear and see folks interacting and actually picking up a card and understanding like a player's history and a background, and even just the swath of, not all content is good content, but I've been encouraged by, I'd call it a new wave of passionate people aiming to share stories and bring older cards of players and people whose stories may not be as around, bringing them back to life. For me right now, I've gone hard into learning like the pre-war card, early 1900s, all those players, or even the post-war in the 50s. But for me now, there's a gap in knowledge in the 30s era, and then being able to go and find so much great information, whether that's Net54 or YouTube or other places. I've been really encouraged by that. Been pleasantly surprised this last year as I look back to see so many people pushing the hobby forward as far as the history, celebrating the legacy of a lot of amazing players. So it's been really cool.
What about your friends or your sisters even? You're a triplet, right?
Yeah.
But so what do your sisters think? Think you've gone off the deep end, or they think this is really cool that Matt has a hobby?
They've seen how much hobby community I've had in the last few years. I've get to share about going to shows and seeing familiar faces. And I've started a YouTube channel and other things like that, and just all the great connections. My whole family's seen just how much of a life-giving hobby that's been for me in a season of young kids and craziness and everything going on. It's hard to find margin time, but it's been such a blessing for me to get to use cars as a way to meet quality people and encourage others in the hobby and learn a lot too. It's been definitely a major win.
Great. Dane, welcome to Big D.
I'll speak on like my business side, because I think as a breaker, one of our functions, or my function when I'm on the air, is, and we'll get a couple hundred new people a month. They just started. And it's my job to educate them on how this works, modern, vintage. And a lot of the people tell me they saw Bryce Harper trading somebody for his card, or they saw a debut patch, or they saw something on Instagram about a player. I think the leagues and the players in your face interested in cards, that's the biggest thing in the past year. Probably the Fanatics guys know about that. That's opening the door for people to go, what is this? Once they get in there, they get educated. They start going down the rabbit hole of 90s stuff and learn about vintage. But getting them in the door is key. And I'm really interested in the future part is the NFL, NBA. Will they get as involved? Because I know with baseball, our new customers, a lot of them are hearing about it because they're seeing players talking about sports cards. And I don't remember that too much when I was a kid. I'm sure it happened, but
I never saw it.
I didn't see it. And that's huge because that's going to keep it going.
Skeppy?
Mine's going to be Pique into the future. I think as we look forward, we have to generate creativity and different ways of thinking. And if we don't do that, I feel like we're going to be stuck in a rut we have been for the last 15 or 20 years. A lot of the same types of cards, the same shiny cards, the same cards that are numbered, and you can't really determine which set is which. Where back in the past, you could look in a case and you could see a 1984 Donruss Don Mattingly and go, I know that card. Now you look in a case and you can't determine any of those. And so how can we bring back wanting to hold the card and understand what that card is about and separate it from all the mess, right? So as we look into the future, I think people that have the ability to make these decisions, I think they have to think a few levels higher in creativity. One of my ideas, and I don't want to get too deep into it, but I think that there's a way to put a collection within a collection in one card. And I think there's several ways to get there and to do that. But if we start thinking that way, maybe some of those ideas will come out. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
Dave? Yeah, I'm going to do the future thing too. And Dane, getting a great entry way into this. I can tell you that in the really near future, you're going to start seeing a lot more involvement by the athletes. There are so many basketball, football, baseball, soccer, all of them have tons of people that play and collect trading cards. Current guys, retired guys, and you're going to see much more involvement with the players, much more storytelling around the cards that are coming out, especially in the higher end SRPs. You're going to see a lot more specific, really cool stories about what this card is. It may have something that you never believed you could see a piece of on it, or it may have an athlete talking about it on the card. Yeah, I think it's going to change the hobby a little bit.
This is not secret stuff you're telling us, right?
No.
This is coming.
This is coming. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, this is stuff you're going to see. You've seen a little bit of it like at Fanatics Fest with Tom Brady. And with Fanatics, he used Tom Brady to do this. And the following that he has, I don't know if you guys have had the chance to go to Fanatics Fest yet, but at Fanatics Fest, there was literally 10,000 people in the convention center following Tom Brady around. It was unbelievable just to sit there and watch the line of people that they were 1,000 feet from him at some points, but they didn't care. They were just following Tom Brady around. So I think you're going to see the athletes both currently playing and retired and have had great careers. In some cases, maybe prospects coming up through the ranks get involved real early in this trading card thing and promote it. And you're going to see lots of individual stories told on many trading cards. There's going to be a bit of a shift on, especially on the higher end SRPs, on what you can expect to see on your trading cards. I hope it raises expectation.
And you were at Panini. The time was not ripe.
No. for being able to do that, because you're the same creative guy you were before.
Correct.
Keith as well, and others that I know are very sharp, but it wasn't right. The idea, or I don't know if the players wouldn't return your phone calls or said, yeah, I'm good for some autographs, but the really skin in the game stuff is ripe now. And they're seeing it's a two-way street. If they give, they can receive. So
Certainly. And
go for it.
And the deals that the players are making with the card companies are unbelievably astronomical for them. Very lucrative. They don't want to mess that up. And they know the more that they give of themselves, most of these guys collect. Most of these guys are active on eBay or whatever, getting whatever they want, collecting their favorite players, maybe cards of themselves. And I think you're going to see that rock forward in some of the card sets. So look forward to that in the future.
Okay, thanks, Dave. Chris?
Yeah, I'll build on a little bit of what you said about the peak of the market. It's been incredible growth we've all experienced over the last 10, especially the last 5 years. But for the first time, collecting is cool.
Yeah.
And that's what we're seeing with the social media and with these athletes. And they're getting a sense of FOMO, right? Oh, all these other people are doing it. They're having so much fun and they're trying to learn about it. So with that, I don't think we're at the peak. I think we are still in the 4th or 5th inning of what's going on here. Now, that doesn't account for external factors. I don't know about the general economy as a whole, but just in this silo of what's happening in the sports market and what we're seeing with growth and people coming in and interest, it's very exciting to be passionate about a market that regenerates and has young people interested in it. And that's the beauty of being involved in sports. You can grow up watching your team with your dad and the younger generations growing up. We grew up being in love with Michael Jordan and Ken Griffey Jr. Kids are growing up loving Bryce Harper and LeBron James. That's exciting. But you can look at philatelics, stamps, coins. You walk into one of those shows and you're hard pressed to find anyone under 65 years old. And you walk into a sports show and you see a lot of kids in there, and that's exciting.
I guess peek into the future, because at least me in particular, but I know a couple of guys over here we've worked with 25 years ago or whatever. But my journey through the hobby was interesting because when we started, Beckett was the comp, and that's what everybody looked at. And we were so into it. And that was basically our social group. And that's what we did. And we went in and did it. Everybody was informed of what was coming out based on what was in the magazines. And for a long time after that, you had that interest, but it was from people my age and older. You didn't see it in the younger kids. I can see how annoying it is sometimes on people's faces at the shows where the kids are looking at their phones and they're like, oh, I'm checking the comps. I want to see this. I want to see that. But that's what we did. We just did it with a magazine and not a cell phone.
Yeah.
So walking around the shows now is amazing, because for so many years, the question we always asked ourselves working in this industry is, how are we going to get the kids involved? How are we going to get them to care about it? And whether it's money or status or whatever it is, everybody collects for their own reasons. It's just incredibly refreshing to see these kids going back and looking at what has sold, what people are spending money on, where they can get their cards to flip to buy the cards they want. They're as involved in it, and maybe more so than we were when we were younger, based on we had a magazine that we were carrying around. We didn't have infinite knowledge on our cell phones and we walked around. But the fact that you're seeing kids use this and they're collecting and they're walking around with their cases and they're showing their collections.